Hi, and welcome to today's session on the Expert's Way, online marketing that works. Today with me, I've got Dee Woodward. Hi, Dee.
Hello.
Now, Dee is the Expert's brand master. She specializes in creating visual design that creates an emotional connection with your audience. And I'm really excited to talk to Dee today because branding and visuals, I think, are really important. And I know a lot of our experts on the summit that we've got haven't spent a lot of time on their branding and their visuals. But, you know, I'm a web designer. What can I say? I love great design. And so I thought it'd be really fun to talk to Dee about what it is that makes a great visual brand. So, hiya.
Hello. Yeah. I definitely agree with you that great design does matter, and there are so many people out there that haven't paid attention to their visuals, and you spend so much time on everything other part of your business and really understanding your message and your customers, and then it kind of falls down a little bit when it comes to actually communicating that visually.
Yeah.
You know, a picture says 1,000 words, or whatever the quote is.
Well, see, I agree. And I think, you know, we make judgments about people all the time, about them based on their website, on their logos, on how good their images are. You know, does it feel original? Do they feel unique? Are they crisp? Are they bright? Are they dark? All of these things play into what people are going to think about you and your brand. And actually, so often we don't pay enough attention to these things.
No, and it's exactly that. You're right. It's creating that instant emotional connection that you have when you, as you say, click onto a website. It doesn't. If you already have a really kind of good relationship with your people, if you speak to them a lot on email, or if you spend a lot of time getting out there and talking and doing all the kind of hard work of getting and connecting with people one to one, then perhaps you could get away with not having great visuals. But more and more on this kind of online instant world that we have, where you're meeting new people, and if your idea is to really grow your brand and you're going past that point where you're just starting out and you're, you know, having the time to meet people, you're taking it to the next level now. You don't have time to have conversations with people one-to-one all the time. You need to have a brand that shows and speaks for exactly who you are, so that when people click on your website, as soon as they land on it, they're like, yes, this is where I need to be. This is who I need to be speaking to, because you get that instant connection through those colors and the styles and the visuals and the imagery that you use. Before you even start to read the title, you make, as you say, a judgment about people and what the business is just by looking at those instant visuals, those images, the styles, before you even get to the words.
I agree. And it's one of those funny topics, because you can look at somebody else's design and really love it, but for some reason, whatever reason, it just won't sit right for your brand. And this is it is an internal emotional thing. And I think we know who we are underneath it all when we're looking at colors and styles. Like there's a massive trend at the moment to create very pretty sites for women entrepreneurs. Yeah.
There's lots of flowers, there's lots of pink, there's lots of Macs placed on white gloss tables.
Exactly, but they are so pretty, you know, with gold lettering and gold and black, you know, and then there's the pink and white and the little flowers in the bowl, and they are lovely, but I couldn't do that. That's because that it doesn't reflect who I am as a person. And I think for somebody that looks at these types of designs and does really appreciate them, what advice would you have for them, Dee, in terms of trying to create their own brands, so when they do see something they really like but it doesn't sit right? I'm putting you on the spot.
No, that's fine. And you know, and especially when it comes to those kind of images, because actually I did a Periscope about this a little while back, because I was doing it for myself. Woke up early in the morning and I needed a new image for a sales page that I was creating, and I absolutely love those images as well. I think they're brilliant, and there's no harm in using them if they fit with who your brand is. But just taking that image because you like it and you think, oh, that'll work really well on this page, isn't necessarily the best thing to do to communicate who you are and connect with your audience. So very easily, very quickly, I mean, I have pretty much every single Apple product there is, because I am a designer, obviously. So I just grabbed my laptop, I put the web page that I wanted to, what I was talking about for my business, up on the computer. So it wasn't photoshopped onto it. It was actually my computer. Popped it on my kitchen table. I've got a beautiful wood kitchen table. The chairs around my kitchen are all brightly color painted because that's part of who I am. That's me and my brand. And orange, I've got my orange notebook. These are all parts of my brand that are really real to who I am. And I just got my iPhone out because you can take some really good pictures with iPhones, and just hovered above the table, had my mug of, well, again, the orange, I'm a little bit obsessed, Pantone mug. So it's my mug, my notebook, my pens, my laptop with the pictures that I wanted to show. Just took a photo, and you don't have to pay for that to be a stock image because it's your image. There's no worries about getting slapped by the kind of, a lot of people get in a lot of trouble with using images that have been kind of pulled around between different websites, so you don't really know who you are meant to be paying to have the royalty for that image. And do you know what the easiest way to just not have to worry about that is to just take your own photos. And then it's so you. It's the beginning of your brand. It's the core of your brand because it is everything about you. And that's the quickest, easiest and cheapest way to get photos for your brand.
Well, I agree. And you can then use software like PicMonkey, which is great free software. And you can, if you think it's too dark, you can lighten it up, you can crop it, you can resize it.
Yeah. And I mean, even now, without having to do that, without even have to take it, if you have got an iPhone, you can go straight into the editing that's now available within your iPhone. You can do a lot of brilliant stuff in this. You can do saturation, brightness, contrast, put filters on, do all of that. Then just email it to yourself, and you've got your image ready to go.
Yes, everybody needs to get an iPhone, right?
Yeah, get an iPhone. Obviously, going to say that. I'm pretty sure there are similar things available on other types of phones.
No, nothing that's going to be as good, I'm sure.
I'm a designer. I'm allowed to be pro Apple. That's everything.
Absolutely. So Dee, I just realized I didn't actually do a proper intro for you.
Oh, we just got straight in. We're just too excited about all of the design.
I'm so excited talking about design. So I'm going to step back a bit and just ask you to share a little bit about your background and your story and how you got to become the Experts Branding Master.
Okay. Well, I've been designing since really as long as I can possibly remember. I've done everything through the kind of ways that you're supposed to when you go to art school. Went and did my college degree, and I went and got myself a BA honours and in graphic design. So I have studied all of the kind of correct route to going down the becoming a designer aspect. So I finished university, I went and got myself a job in agencies, and I worked in a couple of agencies for a couple of years, being a graphic designer, senior designer, ran the studio for a little while. But it got to the point where there was so much frustrated me about working in agencies that there's a serious lack of connection between the person doing the design work and the person the design works for. Because as a designer in a big agency, you have lots of different levels between you and the customer. So I never really got to ever speak to the customer. And I think that is a real issue with working with larger agencies. And I didn't enjoy it. I wanted to understand who that person is. I wanted to really get to connect with the core of that business, but the person behind the business, not just the larger companies. And so that's when I kind of decided, only after a couple of years of working with agencies, to just jack it all in, start from nothing. I'd literally just got married in Thailand and spent all of our money on everything. So we had nothing. I didn't do let's think about it for a while and save some money for how I'm going to pay my mortgage. I just went, that's it. I'm setting up on my own. And so I started doing freelance work, started connecting with independent small business owners, and just going down that freelance route for a while of doing a lot of design work. And I fell into the kind of experts area because that's what I'm passionate about, and really enjoy meeting and connecting with people who, similar to myself, have a real passion for what their business is and have just spent a while honing their skills and really getting to the stage where they are now seen and perceived as an expert, and they're building on that themselves, and they're getting to the stage where they really are getting out there with their own style of doing their business that they can be seen as the expert for. So started working with experts, absolutely loved it, and just kept on going down this road of working on creating brand identities for business owners.
Brilliant. So when we are looking to build our online brand identity, which is quite often different to what our offline brand identity might be, though we do need to find a way of merging the two, what are the key elements that we need to build that brand?
So having a consistent visual style is always going to be top there. You need to find a way that you can very easily create your own visuals for your business, so that you don't have to be tied to getting a designer to do it for you, because designers, we can be an expensive bunch. But I mean, you need to find a way that you can take on board your own brand style to be able to create your own visual marketing elements for your business. And that does all come back to really having an understanding of your core self, your personal brand, where that starts with who you are, who your customers are. And that's why I say that your brand sits somewhere in the middle. It's always you first. You really should understand who you are, what you're passionate about, and why you are the expert that you are, which I know that everyone on this series will have already got that nailed. They know who they are. They're confident. We don't have to go over that. But it's taking that element and turning that into the brand identity that connects with those customers that you really want to work with as well. So we're past the days of just let's work with anyone and everyone. You've got a really specific target customers, real people. I don't like this whole customer avatar thing. It's just I'm not a fan of that at all. So I always like to think about real people that you enjoy working with, because it's much easier to
real customers, right?
Real customers
that you see every day or you talk to on the phone.
Yeah, you've got customers. You don't have to make them up. You can think about real ones. So think about who they are, think about who you are, and look at the visuals and the visual style that's going to connect the two. So for myself, I mean, me at my core, orange, living by the sea. You've got kind of a bit of the camper van style. I mean, I am trying to figure out how to surf. I still have not mastered the surfing, but I enjoy being down by the beach and I enjoy being outdoorsy. So there's that side of my brand really is important to me. That's at my core. Then I've got my customers who are the experts. So there's this higher level of business owner. So you've got that side of your brand identity that you need to look at. So your visuals combine the two. So you're going to I have to have that fun, quirky, creative side that comes from me, my core. And I have to have the higher level expert side of things, which comes from my customers. And so those two styles brought together create my visual brand identity.
Yeah, I love it. That's really great, because what I like about that is, one, and there's the personal you, there's the business you, and then there's the clients.
Yes.
And it's bringing all those pieces together. So I think what's really interesting about that is that you've openly said, look, I'm not corporate. It's not who I am. I like being beachy. I like, having a bit of fun, having a bit of quirk.
Yeah.
And for those people for whom their clients are perhaps, they are like that too, where, we all want to be who we are on the weekends, right? When we're at work.
Yeah.
But their clients may not necessarily expect that in terms of their visual representation when they're looking at things. What advice do you have around that?
Well, I firstly look and really think about if those are actually the right kind of customers for you, first of all. And I know that could be a little bit controversial, because you're used to serving people and you may enjoy working with those people. But if you're having to hide as an expert, and this is an expert run business, so it's slightly different if you're working kind of as a larger corporation, but if you are really the core of your business and people come to work with you because of who you are, your expertise, your personality, if you're hiding elements of that from your customers, then there's always going to be a bit of a disconnect within your branding. And I think that really is where a lot of people struggle with getting their visuals in line with their message, because there's this hazy miscommunication between the two. Your customers, there will be people that are say for example, you're doing the extreme, so you've got a very kind of quirky business and you enjoy working with kind of very straight-laced corporates. There's nothing wrong with that, but actually straight-laced corporates, there's also a segment pool of those people who have got a little bit of the quirky inside them.
Yeah. Everybody does, don't they?
Exactly. And so those are the people that you really are going to enjoy working with, and that's who you should be targeting your design style around, to be able to connect with and communicate with those people on that level, because that's going to have the better feeling for you when you're working together. They're going to get who you are, you're going to get who they are, and there's just going to be a deeper connection there for you.
And more fun.
And more fun, yes, definitely. All about more fun.
Now, what if we have, before going into this whole online marketing world, we have a brand already set up. We've got a style that we use, but it's pretty dull. Mm-hmm. What do we do?
I would just take that and take this note now as your time. Take this time, and I'm giving you permission to just take a few hours out of your day, sit back, go through the process, look at who you are now, who you want to be, and if it isn't fitting, then just stop. Scrap it, start again. There's no reason why you have to keep something from a past life that's limiting you getting to where you want to be.
Yeah, I really like that. Though it can feel challenging personally and emotionally to let go of an old brand.
Definitely. I would always say, I'm quite a bit like, rip the Band-Aid off type person. So just, scrap it and start again. But I know working with my one-to-one customers where we've gone through really big shifts and really big changes in businesses and having to completely change their brand identity, I would always phase it in. So there are steps you can take. You can start to change your colors, because changing colors will make a really big visual and emotional change within your business without you having to change any of your fonts or your logos or anything. I've done this recently with a customer who just went through the color consult because they weren't ready to change everything, but they knew that their website wasn't attracting the right kind of businesses. They'd gone from being the kind of startup, being the, yes, I'm finding my feet, to going, actually, no, I know who my customers are, and I'm working with a much higher level. I've gone from charging £500, £600, £700 to, 3, 4, 5 grand for what the same services. Effectively.
Yeah.
But their brand hadn't changed with them. They had changed, their business had changed, their customers had grown with them, but their visual style hadn't yet changed. So we just tweaked the colors of the website. And within, I think, a few hours or so of this happening, got an email straight back from the lady just saying how I can't believe how much changing the colours has changed the way I feel about my business. I'm no longer scared or worried or fearful of sending people to my website. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. And that was just by tweaking colours and bringing it more in line with who you are and who your customers are. So you can always start, take small steps if you need to, change bit by bit, but go through the process. Really take now as if it's not serving you, if it's not feeling right for you, then it's not going to be feeling right for your customers. And it doesn't have to be this big, expensive brand overhaul. You can go through some of the stages yourself if you need to, and just take baby step-by-step steps, but start now. There's no point keeping something if it's not working. Definitely not.
And actually, while we're on that, what do we do about website shame?
Oh, website shame. I have website shame all the time, honestly. But that's because I'm a designer and I like new things and I love designing new things. And as soon as I finish designing my website, I'm all straight into, I want to create a new website. There's always so much that I want to do. And and that's changing the design from the brand. So my branding has always stayed the same, but the visual style changes because I can, and why not? I get to change it. I can do it all the time. But if you have got website shame right now and you don't necessarily have the time or the skills or the team around you to be able to make those instant changes, I know that I'm lucky that I can do it. Well, I say I'm lucky, but actually probably somebody needs to take this away from me sometimes and go, stop changing.
Yeah,
things.
I hear you.
But I would go to creating like a landing page for your site. So don't struggle through having a website that you don't want to send people to. There's no point having a website full of really great content, which I'm sure it's full of great stuff. But if you've got website shame and you're not sending anyone to it, then what's the point in having that content there? You may as well take those URLs down, put just a landing page up, something very simple that is more in line with what your new brand style is going to be, who that, the projection of who you want to be in the future is, because don't brand yourself now for who you are now, brand it for, 3-5 years time, at least thinking that way. I mean, I'm sure within 3 or 5 years time.
I was going to say 3 years time. God, I think about how many times I reinvent my brand.
I know, it would change yearly. It's always this time every year. I go through a big change of websites, but put landing page up there. There's so many really simple, easy web tools available that make it really easy for you to put a page up. I mean, there are obviously like lead pages and things like this, but I use Optimized Press for my main website, and I know a lot of people do use Optimized Press as well. And that's so simple to just put a standard page up with an image, your headline, an opt-in, so that you're still driving people to it and communicating with them through email whilst you are reviewing and rebuilding your website.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm a big advocate of having a single page landing page if the rest of your site's crap, because because what you see when you look at your website is what other people see. Mm-hmm. And if you do feel shame about it, there are going to be a proportion of people that are going to land on your site and they're going to think, oh no.
No, yeah. No. And there's also that if you feel ashamed of it, then you're not promoting yourself through your website. You're not putting it out there. I mean, I've done it myself before where people have asked, oh, have you got a website I can look at? And you go, oh, no, just
it's like you're cutting off your arm, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so if you have shame for it, then that's going to be kind of limiting yourself in what you should be doing. You're not promoting yourself as much. You need to just kind of cut it back, strip back to just having a landing page that you're really happy with. And then when you've got the time and you've got the investment available to recreate your website, do it. And I will always be a massive advocate of making sure that whatever website you build, so when you're having the conversation with your web developer, make sure that you get a website where you can easily manage it yourself.
Yes.
Because you need to be able to, you need to look and have the conversation with your designer and your developer at the time and say, look, this is brilliant. And I know us designers sometimes can get a little bit like, oh, you're going to want to change my design? Surely not. But you can talk to us. We're nice people as well. And I would just make sure you have the conversation with whoever's going to design and develop your site to say, look, this is perfect now, but things change. I'm an expert. I change. My products change. My services change. I need to be able to have instant and easy editable functions with my website. And with WordPress, with Optimized Press, with all of the tools that are out there now, there's no reason why you can't jump in online and have a new landing page or sales page set up by this afternoon.
Okay. And I agree. I mean, I'm a massive WordPress fan for a number of reasons, because I think, one, it's so flexible. Two, there are so many people that understand it.
Yes.
So even if you fall out with your web designer,
it does happen.
Because there are a lot of shady web designers out there.
Yes.
Yeah, it really gets up my nose. But anyway, so you need to know that someone else can pick it up and run with it if they need to.
Yeah.
But also, there's so many plugins that you can use. The functionality is incredible. Like today, where I'm rebuilding my Spring Media site, just in preparation for this summit, as you do. I actually I donated $10 for this plugin, but it allows you to use any font. So I bought the font WebKit from myfonts.com, but that just felt really complicated. So I wanted another way of being able to upload the font. And, and in an instant, I was able to use this font very easily without any faff, no CSS, no coding, no nothing.
Yeah.
Put it in and there you go.
Yeah. Perfect. And that's what you need. You need to be able to either do it yourself or make it so simple that people on your team can do this for you.
Exactly.
And I think that be it running an expert business, things do change. People change around you. Your team changes, whether it's people you directly employ or people that are on your outsourcing team. That changes, and you need to, for your own business, be able to understand and tweak and change these things, or know at least how to then be able to change them so that if you need to, you can tell someone, okay, this is how we simply update this page. You don't have to. I'm not saying do everything yourself. but have the ability and the understanding to be able to make these changes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what do you think of the other companies that are cropping up? I see this a lot, like Wix and Squarespace, other free. So they're free web platforms, but they're not WordPress.
No.
What are your thoughts on those, Dee?
Well, personally myself, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So WordPress works perfectly for me, and I've been using that for a long time, and I use that with all of my customers, and my web developer really recommends it throughout. So I would personally stick with that. So I don't have much experience using the other platforms, but I do see a lot of these crop up. One thing I will always check, and you should definitely check when you're looking at what kind of tools to use, is how they're run, like who owns that site. So a lot of these build a free kind of tools to be able to build sites, and I assume Wix is, but as I say, I don't really know, I haven't used it. But a lot of these kind of tools, they're hosted with that company. So you don't have direct control of those web pages. So if anything happens, I think it's a little bit risky to have too much of your content built on a platform that you don't have direct access and control over. When I run my course building course, and when I talk about creating courses, that's one of the things I definitely say to all of the students, is to look at what system you're going to build it in. So I will always build using Optimized Press, Optimized Member, and WordPress, because
great, isn't it?
And you've got, that's on your platform. You're not building on somebody else's platform. And yes, there are some amazing, really simple tools out there that will allow you to really quickly build websites. But if it's on somebody else's platform, I would always be a little bit worried and a little bit cautious that what happens if you can't get direct access to that, because you don't want to be building something and think it's you've no longer got website shame and you love your website, but it disappears because it was on a platform that you don't have direct access to. So
yeah, that would suck.
And really look into, do your due diligence here and really look into what those systems are and who's got the raw files, as it were, to your website.
Well, the other thing that I find with those platforms, and you can create really nice looking sites. So if somebody is interested in creating their own site, definitely worth having a look. But you should know that it is less flexible. There are less people that can help you with it. So not paying now might mean you end up paying a lot in the future, just because other people don't know it as well as they would something like WordPress.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that the integrations all work. So integrations with your email software or with Lead Pages or whatever software you're using, GoToWebinar, whatever it is, so that you can easily add these things and these pieces of functionality to your site.
Definitely. Yeah.
So enough website stuff. God, we went off on a bit of a tangent there. How should we be branding ourselves or our business, do you think, Dee?
Okay, well, that is, really depends on what you want at the end of your business, whether it's going to be you as your business because you are the expert and you're doing everything in your business and people are buying you as your brand. So if you are that one-to-one kind of deliverable service that you're doing, then you need to be branded as your business. If, though, you want a business that in a few years' time you can remove yourself completely from and doesn't rely on you, then you need to be branding as your business identity rather than your personal identity. Myself, as an example, I have both. Because I've got my one-to-one work where it's very much me working one-to-one with experts to help them create and manage and grow their brands and their businesses, looking at the kind of visual marketing styles and creating a brand identity that's going to suit them now but also grow and last with them. That's very much a personal business because you're coming to me because you know my expertise and you want me to help you with this. So that needs to be branded very much under me. So I've got my Dee Woodward one-to-one side for that. Then I've got my other side of the business, which is my membership site, which is Get It ByDeesign. Now, I get to have DEE in all of my designs, so it gets a little bit of, I get to put a bit of me into the business name as well, but that's great. But that's more of a long-term business, so I will be removing myself, hopefully, in the future from that. But it doesn't need me personally in there to make that business work. It's me to start with, and there's a lot of me in there, and it's a lot of me right now because it's my baby at the moment and I really enjoy it. But in a few years' time, it could still survive without me. So that's very much branded as a business identity rather than a personal identity.
So the Dee Woodward site is a mentoring site, or you do design work for people through that one?
It's design mentoring, really, I suppose. So it's me working one-to-one, a lot of consulting work. There's also the actual physical branding design side of things as well. So that goes through and covers everything from your brand identity, graphics, visuals, website. We'll cover all of that with my team as well, but it's very much me you're coming to work one-on-one. And I get involved with it's the brand side of things that I absolutely love and enjoy doing. So that's where the project always kicks off with. The days where I just do the odd bit of design work are well and truly behind me. That's what I created my membership site for, so that I didn't have to do those one-off bits of design anymore. Because really, I didn't particularly enjoy doing it, but also I know from the other side, from my customer's perspective, having had those conversations before I created the membership site, that really you don't want to be paying a lot of money to have a designer create a Facebook header for you. You want to be able to just do it yourself. So that's what I created the membership site to have it available. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So yeah, really, if you are your business, then it needs to be branded you personally. If you are not your business and you want your business to be able to survive past when you're not having to work in it all the time, then look at creating a business brand identity.
Cool. Good. What are some branding mistakes that you see people making all the time?
Oh, branding mistakes. I think one of the, which we touched on already with the talking about gold at the moment, trends. It's really easy to get sucked into. Oh, hang on a minute. I lost my earpiece. It's really easy to get sucked into to trends that are happening at the moment, and to seeing something that somebody else is doing and going, oh, that looks amazing. Okay, I must have that. Because yes, convincing yourself that fits with your brand and your style, and just going, yes, I need to have this new, I suppose it's the new shiny kind of side of things when it comes to design. And that is a big mistake when it comes to developing your personal and your business brand. Because you need to be at the core of everything that you are creating for your business, and copying other styles just because they are trendy right now gives you that kind of quick fix for the moment when you think, yes, okay, now I feel really great about my website because I've put all the new fancy things on there. But in a few months' time, when that trend is now gone and everyone's going, oh, gold foil effects. Why did anyone have gold foil effect text? Oh, no, you're going to be back into website shame again. Whereas if you'd made design and visual choices based on who you are and who your customers are, you know that those might tweak and change, but you have your set parameters to go, right, okay, I know that that's not me. I love it on somebody else's site and that works for them. I can appreciate that brand style, but I've got my brand style and this is what I'm working on. So don't follow trends.
Yeah, the hand-painted font is another thing that we're seeing a lot of at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And I love hand fonts, but do you know what my quick tip for that would be? Practice your handwriting. Right. I've got these little pens. I love these pens. You can get them for a couple of quid on Amazon, and they're the real wet kind of fine brush pens. This is how you create that kind of handwritten font style with the brush effect. And I haven't got the best handwriting in the world, but it's my handwriting.
Absolutely.
And there's nobody else going to be with the exact same style out there. So for headlines and things, create your own brush script and use that, upload that, take a photo using your trusty iPhone again, and use that rather than following the trends of the fonts. Though I do love fonts. I have got a very large font collection. I call it my secret font porn stash on Pinterest. If you want to have font porn, we love it.
But it's not a cheap habit to have.
It's not. I love fonts. You've got to buy fonts. It reminds me years and years ago when I first set up and I was first studying graphic design. I remember a quote by, I can't remember the designer it was at the time, who said, if you're not willing to invest in expensive fonts, then you can't call yourself a designer. And I think that's something.
I feel great then.
You have to. You've got to buy fonts, you are officially a proper designer.
Yeah, my other one is domain names.
Okay, yes, yeah, I've got a lot of domain names as well.
Domain name junkie. Ridiculous. And I'm having to turn them off because I've got 70 of them at the moment.
Yeah, I get them every now and then. You get a little email saying, oh, this domain name's about to expire. Would you like to renew? And you look at it and you're like, what was that for?
Gotta get the .com, the .net, the .co.uk.
Gotta get them all.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about color now.
Okay.
What do we need? What kinds of colors do you think work well, or is there any rules around color that we should be using or following?
Again, it comes back to color is very much a subjective subject. That was getting confusing for me to say then. So it is very subjective, and the way to define and choose what colors are going to be right for your brand is, again, by coming back to your core and your customers. So when you understand who you are, what your values are, what you want to stand for as an expert, which you know all these things, write them all down, write down exactly who you are, what you stand for. Look at your perfect customers, the ones that you love working with. Write down what they believe in, their thoughts, what they expect from you. So get those, and when you've got some real emotive words, the kind of words that you can really feel, once you've got those, go online. There's quite a few different tools. I've got a blog post somewhere as well that highlights the color values and how they associate with words. But we'll
link to that below.
We can link to that. But there are so many resources out there on color psychology in Google. So even if you just type in color psychology, I have got a video series as well, which I can link to, which goes into the top level, what colors and words and how they're associated. So there are each word, each emotive feeling of a word that you have will be associated with a color. So once you know what your core words are and what your customers' words are, what those things and those feelings that you want to create in your brand, and it's got to be this emotive feeling. Once you know what they are, you can then go and simply Google what those words are and how they relate to colors, and you have then got your core colors for your business.
So simple.
Very simple. It's a science. So it isn't just choosing colours for the sake of choosing colours. There is a science behind it. So if we can use an example for myself again with my branding. So I've got my two core colours are very much the orange and the black. Now the orange is a very creative, action-taking colour. It's also, as they call it, the Marmite of the colour world, because orange, you either love it or you hate it. But it also has this ability to grab your attention. You can't ignore orange. So
I love orange.
That for me was just, it sums up perfectly everything I believe about my kind of me personally, my business, my brands. It just works for me. Black is a very authoritative, exclusive color. It's something that you would get, it's a traditional color, but it's very, very like high level. You see a lot of big name brands that just use black. You've got a lot of the kind of the big brands within the fashion industry use black and white as their core colors, because black has got that real kind of authoritative feeling about it. So that's something that really connects with my customer side of the business, because I work with people who are experts. They are the authorities and they want this higher level feel, but it's also got that traditional. So those colors worked really well in my brand. Now, the other thing when it comes to, I could talk about colors you might have to shut me up at one point, because I could talk about colors for ages. I love it. But the other thing you need to take into consideration when you look at choosing colors for your brand is what kind of spectrum of the colors you're looking at. So again, I always say, if you take, for example, green as a color, then you look at, say, Waitrose and you look at Asda. They both use green for their branding, but they are very different types of green. You've got a very bright green, you've got a very deep green, and they sit on the ends of the scales of Waitrose. The deep green is very much seen as a kind of a higher level shopping experience, and Asda is a bright color and it's very much seen on the kind of the cheaper shopping experience. So if you are appealing to people on a lower budget, if you're appealing to people and you want to be seen as the kind of a cheap to use one of these words which is meant to be terrible, I suppose cost effective is a better
high value.
Yeah. Then you would want to go for those brighter colors, because that attracts that side of business. If you want to be seen as a more expensive option, as a higher investment, premium, that type of thing, then you need to go for the more muted colors. So those are your general rules when choosing colours for your brands.
See, I'm going to have to go and have a look at my Experts Way page to see what those colours say now.
You have to have a look, yeah. But it's easy to refer this back to my brand, because hopefully you've seen it and you know a bit about myself now as well. So over the journey, you'll have noticed, if anyone's kind of, I'm sure nobody's been watching my website evolve every few months, but you will have seen that when I very first started, going back a fair few years back now, the oranges I used were very bright. And they have progressively got deeper and more muted over the years as my brand has changed and adapted with me. And that's just one example of how when you create your brand, it should be something that can grow with you, because you will change as your business changes. And you need to have this core identity, needs to be able to grow and tweak and change with you. So understanding who you are first and your customers really helps you create that brand identity that will allow you to grow as your business grows.
Cool. And then let's talk a little bit about logos or symbols as part of our design.
Mm-hmm.
When we're experts, particularly if we're branding as ourselves, do we need one?
I would say kind of yes and no, which is a really, really terrible answer, isn't it? But the idea of having a logo or some sort of mark just helps people get a hook and know that, okay, this is who this piece of information belongs to. So by having a logo or an icon or anything, just, there's a lot of kind of the monogram type things going around at the moment, just initials for expert. That's great. It's some sort of symbol. It just means that when you put any information out there, if you've got a blog that you're putting out there, if you're putting sharing a quote, you don't have to put a full information and URLs. You can just put this tiny little mark that signifies that who you are, and then it kind of belongs to your brand. That being said, if I use my own website, for an example, I don't use a logo on my website at all. Because, and the point I have there is that your brand isn't your logo. The logo that you have doesn't make your brand. Your brand is the experience of being on the site. So when it comes to your website, actually your logo really isn't that important, because when you're on a website, I mean, how many times do you land on a website and just go, oh, look at this logo, I'm just going to stare at the logo forever? You don't. You look at everything else on the site. So you want to make sure that the full website has this full experience of your brand identity. And I don't think you need to have a logo in those instances. But it is worth having some sort of identifying mark, so that when you first relaunch your business or your brand, or you're relaunching this, you're putting yourself out there as an expert. If you're changing or transitioning from any of a previous kind of corporate style work or anything else that you're doing, having that little mark that you can put out there to really just signify the fact that this belongs to you, this is who you are, that does help build your brand experience. But the brand experience is more than your logo, so don't stress about it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. I was going to, for my Julie Hall online site, which is my mentoring site, I was going to just put my name up, because what I noticed was actually that a lot of the very successful people online don't have anything. They don't have a mark. But personally, I like to have a symbol that I can use in the corner of a PowerPoint presentation or something like that, which is just that identifier.
Yeah, it just hooks, and it just reminds you that, yes, okay, oh yeah, I am in this same place and this is who I was speaking to. But I always like to, I call them name goes, whatever, that's my new name for, rather than a logo, just go for a very simple name go. If you're an expert, it's based on your name, then you can just choose fonts by going through the process of who you are and who you're. It's very similar to choosing colors. Choosing fonts follows a similar path. All fonts have their own story and meaning behind them. So once you've identified what fonts work best for your brand, you can create yourself a very simple name go by just combining those fonts together, or using one font, writing your name as if it were a handwritten script style. And it doesn't have to be over complicated. That will sort you perfectly for now.
Great. And so last question is just, what tips would you leave us with going forward?
What tips around how to...
Around branding and making sure that our brand is going to emotionally connect with people.
Okay. Well, I've mentioned it a few times, but it's really coming back to understanding the understanding of who you are and who your customers are. That really is the core of creating your brand identity. Once you understand those two things and then convert that into a visual brand style for yourself, then you've got that. That's your brand identity. It will grow with you, and you don't need to you can tick that off the box. You can understand that you know that you've got your brand style, you've got your colors, your fonts, an identifying mark if you want to use it, but you've got your visual style will come from understanding those two things and converting that into the colors and the fonts and styles. Once you know that, create just a very simple, I always have a simple kind of brand guidelines page. It just needs to be a single page just for you as a memory hook that you can refer back to. So every time you create something, every time that you get attracted to those beautiful new images that appear everywhere and you think, oh, I must go and buy these new stock images, you can pull yourself back to your brand guidelines, review your why, who you are, who your customers are, and what colors and fonts and styles you've chosen, and just stick with that and allow it to grow with who you are, not because of any external influences.
Brilliant.
Don't be swayed by the trends. Stick to who you are and allow it to grow naturally with you.
Now, if somebody wants to find out more about you, Dee, where can they go?
They can go to either deewoodward.co.uk to find out more about me and my personal branding side, or there's Get It ByDeesign.co.uk, which is my membership-based website. But what I will do, I think we mentioned that it might be quite nice to summarize some of the points that I've gone through, because I am aware that sometimes I do speak quite quickly on these, and you might have been frantically writing notes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out some of the real core elements that we've just talked through here now, and I'll put them together as a bit of a cheat sheet, if you like, and I'll put that up online. So if you go to getitbydesign.co.uk / we'll call it expert brand, I'll make sure there's something online there that you can download and get all of this information to help you take those next steps to really make sure that you've got the right brand identity out there for your business.
Brilliant. Well, it's been great fun, Dee. I've had a blast talking to you. And it's so nice to talk to somebody that loves branding and design.
Yay! Well, I can talk about it all day. So if you want to, we can carry on.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.